a Gazette mail, and so first thing I'll do is I'll ask the staff to introduce themselves, and then we'll get to you guys in your introductions. Shall we start down on the end, Brad?
Hi, I'm Brad McElhenney. I'm co-editor of the Gazette Mail.
I'm Kelly Merritt. I'm editorial page editor of the Daily Mail opinion page. I would like to ask your pardon as soon as I have to run after as soon as you're all introductions, I'm going to have to leave, unfortunately.
I think your introduction's good.
I'm Whitney Burdett. I'm an editorial writer for the Daily Mail opinion page.
I'm Kate White. I'm a reporter for the Gazette Mail.
I'm Greg Moore. I'm the city editor of the Gazette Mail.
I'm Rob Myers. I'm the co-editor of the Gazette Mail.
And I'm Dawn Miller. I'm the Gazette opinion page editor. So thank you all for coming. So, and we're talking to people today who are running in districts for the first time this year. And so the districts we have in front of us today are running. Divisions. Thank you. Divisions. Not to be confused with magisterial districts, right? We got divisions 9, 8, 7, and we have one candidate from 5 because we didn't get her yesterday. Okay, good. So the first thing I want to ask you to do is just tell us who you are and very briefly why you're running for office. We'll get to questions in more detail later, but there's a lot of you, so please keep it short. I'm going to start here on the end, okay?
Hi, I'm Melanie Rucker. I'm running in Division 7. I have been a magistrate assistant for 15 years. I ran in 2012 and did fairly well my first time, and I've always wanted to be a magistrate, and that's why I'm running.
My name is Steve Harper, and I'm 62 years old. I ran last time. The reason I'm running for magistrate is I've been in law enforcement probably 35 to 36 years of my life, and I just wanted to continue and to see what it's like on the other side. And my goal is always to help people solve problems, and I think magistrates have a great opportunity to do that.
I'm Kim Aaron. I'm 59 years old. I'm running in Division 8 to retain my seat. I'm running for my 4th term, and I want to continue to serve.
I'm Tim Halloran. I'm in Division 9. I'm the incumbent. I've been magistrate at the end of this term will be 18 years. I believe in my motto that I'm firm but fair. I want to continue and use my 18 years of experience to serve the citizens of Kanawha County. Thank you.
I'm Margaret Chico-Eddy. I'm running for magistrate because I have a criminal justice degree and want to use my professional experience to serve my community. I have worked in various areas of the criminal justice field, from courts to having my PI license to a large police agency, and I think I have a lot to offer the community as a magistrate.
I'm Pam Nixon. I'm running for magistrate in Division 5. I'm running because I've always wanted, well, not always, but I've wanted in recent years to become magistrate. My mother used to be a deputy sheriff of Kanawha County, and when she retired, she worked in night court and magistrate court. And I sat in, and I really enjoyed them working with the citizens that came in. She had to work with all different types of backgrounds of citizens, and I did that when I was working with the DEP also. And at the DEP, I had to be able to explain the federal and state regulations on environmental issues, and I feel that I can do the same and be able to communicate with the citizens of continue to communicate with citizens of West Virginia.
Good afternoon. I'm Magistrate Yeager. I'm running for my 4th term in Division 7. I'm a native of Kanawha County, graduated from the University of Charleston, have a master's in criminal justice with an emphasis in leadership studies, justice leadership from Marshall. I've been on the bench for 11 years, going on 12 years. I'm seeking re-election because I love what I do. As you may know, in 2012, I became involved in the domestic violence court that I'm very proud of, worked very hard. And just hope to retain my seat, stay in this position, and keep working every day. Thank you.
I'm Pierce Workman. I'm in District 9. Pardon my voice. I'm a former Kanawha County magistrate. I was elected in 2008. I have 30 years plus law enforcement experience. I'm currently a police officer for the city of Montgomery. Thank you.
My name is Todd Chevalier. I am a lifelong resident of Kanawha County also. I have been a servant of the citizens of Kanawha County as an educator in Kanawha County schools for 30 years. The reason I chose to run for Kanawha County Magistrate is several reasons. First reason is, as I was growing up, my parents had a lot of dealings with magistrate court, and I would attend some of the hearings, some of the rulings that they would have to be in front of magistrate courts about, and it struck an interest to me. The second reason is when I decided to run for Kanawha County Magistrate, as I started my investigative work to see what this was about, how to go about doing it, talking to people who have been dealing with magistrate court over the last few years, a lot of negative comments about Kanawha County Magistrate Court. And I'm a firm believer, don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. So I feel like I can be part of the solution. I think I can bring some professionalism to Kanawha County Magistrate Court, and that's what I wish to do. Thank you.
It's all right if I start. So I'd like to start with Julie Yeager, and we asked about domestic violence, how those issues are handled yesterday. What you're handling that court, I'd like to hear an update from you. How is it working?
Sure. We started the pilot program in 2012, myself and Judge Kelly. As you may know, the purpose of the project to begin with was we had numerous deaths, particularly in Kanawha County, that were victim related, that were domestic related. When the Supreme Court's Fatality Review Board looked at all of the deaths across the state, the one common denominator was magistrate court. Either there was a current protective order in place or there were domestic charges pending against a perpetrator when the victim's death occurred. So it made sense to start the pilot in Kanawha County because number one, we had the highest number of deaths. Number two, we're the greatest populated county. In 2012, we kicked off the pilot project. Judge Kelly retired in 2014. So at that time, I took on all of the pilot project. What it consists of is one judicial officer overseeing all of the domestic cases. The reason for that being that you become familiar with the perpetrators, you know who's out on bond, who's out on probation, you become familiar with those folks, and you bring them back for what's called compliance hearings. So it's almost like a probation period in an effort, and it has definitely improved the number of repeat perpetrators coming back. It gives you a chance to keep track of them and to know where they are in the case. We have domestic violence petitions that are also taken care of through the day. I hear all of the protective orders that have criminal cases attached to them. I can tell you that we roll out anywhere between 500 and 600 hearings a month. That's both new and compliance hearings. I had to finish the stats for last year's grant. We had over 5,900 domestic hearings in Kanawha County last year alone. That was not DVP hearings, just criminal hearings. That includes the felonies as well. I handle all the felony sexual assault, domestic thirds, kidnapping, attempted murders, anything domestic related in domestic violence court.
And you measure a difference in results?
Oh, absolutely. The first being that I always say knock on wood, we've had not a single domestic death in Kanawha County since the program began in 2012. That's huge, especially considering the fact that we started the program because we had the highest number of deaths. Number two, the lower recidivism rate of seeing less perpetrators coming back. It's obvious that it is working, and I say it's working because when we have them before us, either for a pretrial monitoring or a plea, we offer them services such as batter's intervention. Unlike an addiction, domestic violence is learned behavior, and so unlike the drug issue that we're dealing with or the alcohol issues, it's learned behavior, and so the key is teaching these perpetrators exactly what is domestic violence, and at the same time offering assistance to the victims as well.
Okay, very good. So I just want to follow up with a question for the challenger here. Ms. Parker, why did you choose to run in that division?
Number one, I think that there is, it's nothing personal at all, but I do feel that there is a change needed in the domestic court. I feel that there is many manageable problems that could be handled differently. There's bonds being set that is straight across the board. Just for an example, a $5,000 cash bond is for everyone. It should be looked at case by case.
No, I don't think that's true, if you'll give me a chance to respond to that. The cash bonds are only on perpetrators that are either out on bond or probation for like alleged strangulations or repeat offenders. And if you fail to appear at a compliance hearing and you failed to show up for day report like you were supposed to, and we don't know where you are, then they get a high cash bond. Or if they pick up new charges, for example, and a revocation is filed by the prosecutor's office. Not all bonds are $5,000. That's not a correct statement.
Okay. So I didn't want to cut you off, Ms. Rucker. Were there other problems you want to address why you chose this particular division?
Yes. There, like I said, there are various management problems there. There's organization problems that can be handled differently. And when she says that they handle the DVPs during the day, that they handle all the DVPs during the day, that is not exactly a true statement either. That can be handled to where they could handle the DVPs throughout the day. As she has 3 staff members, they could come in and stagger their work times and their lunches to where they would handle them all through the day. But we have the book until 9 o'clock of the morning, and then we have it at lunch, and we get it back at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's leaving quite a bit of time for us to issue DVPs, the magistrate that is on day court.
When you say we have the book, you mean?
The day court. Day court magistrate and assistant has the book during that time. So they would be in control of it from 9 to noon, and then we get it back at 4 o'clock. So they have their lunchtime, things of that nature. There are some definite organization skills that need to be worked out. We have asked numerous times for this we've asked for help, and we do not get that. We do not get any cooperation with that.
Dawn, I'd like to just respond. We have the Supreme Court has provided a civil case coordinator. Sherry Lanham does a fantastic job. She does nothing but domestic violence protective orders. That is her responsibility. And please remember, prior to the domestic violence court, magistrates, it's their job to issue protective orders 24 hours a day in day court. The only time the book is in there from 8 to 9 and from noon to 1. So I think it's ironic that Ms. Rucker says they have the book all the time. I personally issued 792 protective orders last year alone. So there's only a 2-hour window during the day that someone in day court has that book.
Actually, we have it from 4 to midnight also.
Oh, it's always been 4 to midnight. But when Judge Kelly,
I'm just clarifying that
yeah,
it
when
is
Judge
also
Kelly,
4 to midnight.
yeah, but it's and it should be. I mean, it's a magistrate's job to issue or deny protective orders.
But again, those hours could be staggered, and if they issue them all day long, then we wouldn't even have them during that time.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Halloran, you mentioned in your questionnaire that you feel like that all magistrates should be handling the domestic violence cases. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I like the system the way it was before. And we're supposed to have magistrates handle the entire caseload. That's what they were elected to do in 2012. And 10 magistrates were elected, and then after the election, 2 magistrates were given a specialized position. I didn't agree with it then, and I don't agree with it now. believe all the cases should be handled by all magistrates, everything.
And to add to that, number one, I think domestic court's been extremely successful. But with that being said, I'd like to, remind you that we lost a huge amount of cases to our municipalities. So when Mr. Halloran says they should be divided, those cases that are currently divided amongst the other 8, while myself and Magistrate Tracy Carper-Strickland are covering juveniles, that number has drastically dropped in the last 3 years now that the municipalities are handling the cases. I say that so that you understand that the 8 others, it's not like they're being inconvenienced. They have very few less cases than what we had 4 years ago.
Sarah,
With the judicial order by the West Virginia Supreme Court, my opinion on this matter is moot. It's been decided for me. I do support the court in their program.
Might also add that the 8 magistrates work every weekend, holidays and everything, whereas the 2 specialized don't ever work weekends or holidays or nights. And to say that they have a large caseload, well, they also have a lot of time. Magistrate court is open 365 days a year, and all 10 magistrates should be available for that service to the public.
What are the usual hours for magistrate court? Say, how late does it stay?
If you're starting out on day court, it's 8 o'clock till noon. Then another magistrate is from noon to 4. Then the nighttime magistrate comes in is 4 till midnight. But then that magistrate's on call the rest of the night.
Okay, so there's a magistrate there every night until midnight.
We work a split shift on the weekends. 8 to noon, 8 to midnight, again, 8 to noon, 8 to midnight. Yes. The whole weekend.
And a majority of petitions.
Never leave early?
May I comment?
Of course we've left early. There's been snow conditions. I have to admit that there's been times that I've had a terrible headache and I made it till 11:30. Called them and said, if no one's headed our way to Metro, please inform them that I'm not feeling well. And I give a reason if I leave early. As to why I leave.
I think we're going to move on to another subject soon, but go ahead.
May I comment? As the newcomer, I'm looking at the domestic violence court. I think it's been a success. And the reason I think it's been a success is because you have one person dealing with it, therefore you have consistency. If we put all 10 magistrates involved in it, I think you now muddy the water on consistency. And with domestic, with all dealings with magistrate court, it's very important, don't get me wrong. But when we're dealing with domestic violence and the purpose of setting up this court was the deaths from it, I think it needs to be really looked at. And when we have the consistency of one person managing it, I think it benefits. I think the state of West Virginia has also recognized the benefits of domestic violence court, and I think we'll start to see that court expand in other counties.
But again, the issue is moot. It has been decided for us, and that's the way it's going to be.
Let me follow up on your question there. Have we ever left early? Yes. But have we stayed late? Yes.
Yes.
For a late night domestic violence petition that the police officer brings in at 5 minutes till midnight.
Could I just add to the one person doing one thing in that system? I was in that system, and I was appointed by Judge Bloom to be the backup juvenile judge. And since that happened, that the magistrate, this one magistrate takes care of that, or keeps it right there, is perfect. We know what's going on. Nobody gets lost in the shuffle. And I do like the one person taking care of those things, and they know what's going on, and you can go to that person and say, hey, what about this? And it's there. They know. I think it's a great idea.
I agree with that also, that it needs to be consistent and the same magistrate hear the case, because then they're familiar with all of it.
We talked yesterday a little bit about sort of the importance of frame of mind on this job, because you're seeing some very sad situations. How do you apply yourself and then get over it when home? Or if you're not currently serving in this office, what's your sort of self-help strategy for making sure you're taking it seriously when you're on, but coping when you're not on?
So, are you referring with domestic violence or with just the court itself?
Court itself.
Okay, I think you have to be a very open-minded person. I think you have to be open-minded. You cannot be reactionary. You have to be attentive to what's going on. And then when you walk away, you need to have some downtime. You need to try to remove the court setting from your mind. Although as a Kanawha County magistrate, you're somewhat on call 24/7. Police officer might need a search warrant signed or something like that, so they might contact you to take care of that. But I think you just have to go into each day with an open mind. Each day looking towards guidance. Don't want to get into a religious conversation here, but I think you look daily for guidance and daily to ask for support and help with decision making, and you move forward.
Having 30 years plus law enforcement, I try not to take that home at all. But I'm human, so sometimes that happens, especially when there's a death or a shooting or something involved. Now, when I was a magistrate, you're dealing with people's lives there, okay? And I tried to make the best decision that I could and be fair as I could. Sometimes things bothered me, but I knew that that's what I had to do. And when I left the magistrate court, when I went home, I can't say that I never thought about decisions that I made and hope that I made the right. But I tried to do other things, to get my mind off that. I don't think you wouldn't be human if you didn't think about other people, because you're holding their fate in your hand.
When Judge Hallerman said I don't work nights and weekends, I have to tell you that I really don't stop working, and haven't for several years now. I have lots more gray hair, and I've missed a lot of kids' ball games. But law enforcement, my colleagues in day court, my prosecutor, my public defenders, the jail, CPS, Prestera, YWCA, these folks who participate in this domestic violence pilot project call me all the time, nights, weekends. Very rarely do I leave work before 6, 7, or 8 o'clock at night. And if I do, I'm reviewing the files for the 50 hearings I got the next day. So I'm not leaving it at the office. I take it home with me, and I'm really proud of the fact that I'm available 24 hours. Paris Workman can tell you, because he's called me recently about domestics in his area. My coworkers can tell you, they call me anytime they have a domestic question, and I'm able to answer it. So unfortunately, I don't leave. I mean, I guess it's fortunate for those who need me. I don't leave it at the office.
I haven't worked in magistrate court, but when I was working with the DEP, my job, I was the only environmental advocate for the whole state. It wasn't just Kanawha County, it was for the whole state at that time. And I was dealing with conflict resolution. Citizens would call and complain about things either for industry or the DEP. DEP was not a well-liked agency as a result of environmental issues. And I had to learn how to listen closely, to be able to communicate, active listening, to be able to help resolve their conflicts. And when it was time to go home, it was difficult because, as I said, I was the only one for the state for probably 12 years. And I did take a lot of my work home, but you have to learn how to relax, learn how to meditate, to be able to cope and be able to go back in rejuvenated the next day and go to work. And I feel that when working as a magistrate also.
I've had to do that in another job. I was the police records supervisor for the Durham Police Department. Every day was to read cases, homicides, rapes, child abuse, and it's very hard to let it go. But you do have to learn that to leave it at work because it's not going anywhere. Tomorrow you're going to read the same ugly things, and you're still going to read about a sex offender that raped his 5-year-old niece. But luckily I have a great family and lots of interests, and I'm good at that. I can leave it at home and go kiss my grandchildren and be glad to see them.
When I first was elected in 1994, I went down one night to work with Jack Kinder, a former magistrate. And after I saw what was going on in the courtroom, and Jack and I became acquainted and what have you, I didn't meet him. I hadn't met him before. And after we finished up a shift that night, I said, Jack, what do you do to get out of this grind that you're in for the last 8 hours? And he looked at me and he said, Halloran, let me give you a piece of advice. When you walk out that back door, don't think about it again. You got to come back tomorrow morning and serve the public. That's it. So pretty well I go home and decompress and look at the things I want to look at and what all, so I'm fresh the next morning to deal with what comes before me.
13 years ago, when I was sworn in, my father gave me some fantastic advice. He said, put it in your pocket. I didn't know what he meant. I said, Daddy, what are you talking about? Put it in your pocket. He says, you got to learn the difference. You got to learn to cope. You got to learn to do your job. You got to learn to be professional. But when you leave at night, you're on your time. You need to put it in your pocket. Occasionally put your hand in your pocket to make you mindful that you need to be judicial at all times. And I've always lived by that creed.
First off, I spent 26 years with the Charleston PD. I retired from there, so apparently I had to carry around a lot of time. Policemen carry about the same thing. Actually, probably maybe some more because they actually see the grip. I worked in the drug unit for 18 years. I worked cases that you wouldn't believe that the parents are pimping out their little kids. But you got to do what you do. You can do what you can do, and what you can't do, you got to realize you can't do nothing about it. And let go of that when you go home. Like in the magistrates, like say when the magistrate gets a hold of somebody, they've done committed whatever crime they committed. But we have to look at it while it's going on. I think it's why I would have advantage being a magistrate, because not only was I there to see it, I'll be back there to see what I can do about it. That's what I respect. I respect all the magistrates we have now. They're all great magistrates. Magistrates, in my opinion, have the ability to judge people, not judge people, but put the punishment where the punishment belongs. Somebody's been in front of you 5 times for the same crime, and they get out. I'm tired of going to a place, and they know that I'll be out before you get through processing. What's true? And you give them a bond, and they make their bond, and then the deals are cut, and this and that. It's like domestic violence. Domestic violence, I think, should be handled by all magistrates. What's going to happen when Julie's not there? Somebody should, they should be other people there qualified or have the experience to handle those cases. They may be some magistrates that more experience with dealing with people than some. If you get like a police officer, we've got some police officers just cannot deal with the public. They can't relate to the people. You've got to be able to relate to the people. You're people too. To put yourself in their shoes and see what to do. Be fair and firm. I don't want to steal your second, but it is true. Thank you.
What you need to understand with magistrate court is that you're dealing with anything from a traffic ticket to a murder. That we are the first line of defense. That's the first person that anyone that is arrested comes to. We're the magistrate and assistant. That's what they see first, okay? So right now you might have a traffic ticket and then you have the murder. I might have to get off the bench to go help someone that has no idea. She has never been in trouble in her life, but her son is now facing drug charges or something like that, and she has no idea. This is her first time to be there, and she just needs help. You have to stop, you have to be professional, and you have to be compassionate. You don't have time to think about that bad thing that happened, because the person before you doesn't know that bad thing happened. The person after you doesn't know. You have to live in that moment and then go home and just be thankful that you have, that you have that ability.
Okay, thank you. Let's look at Division 9 a little bit. Our 4 candidates in Division 9. So I want to hear from Mr. Harper, Mr. Workman, and Ms. Chico Eddie. Why'd you pick that division? Why are you running against the magistrate here? Who wants to go first?
Why did I choose this lovely man?
Right.
Well, I did my homework. Not that he's not a good man, I mean that truly. I used stats. He came in last in the last election. 2 newcomers beat him, and he raised the least amount of money. It was nothing personal, but those are the reasons I chose Mr. Howard.
Strategy.
Yes.
Okay. Who else? Mr. Harper?
Actually, I like Tim. But here's the problem I ran into is when you run for master, you got to know people. I've been around this valley since since '71 when I graduated. And I've been in law enforcement. I know people. I know everybody in the court, federal, state, and everything. And you got to have people backing you to get this position. You just can't come in here and just say, "I want to be master." You got to have people to vote for you and people backing you. And during that time, we changed the system here. Everybody I talked to, and they got more than one friend, they're going to be backing another master. So what I had to do was I had to put all the people that's going to back me against the masters, and the ones that had the less people backing them that I knew, I had to go with, and I so happened to be Tim. I'm sorry, Tim, but Tim probably comes from Kanawha City. I come from Cisco. Probably had different people. I don't know. But that was the reason I.
This is cold-blooded.
Interesting diagram.
Well, me and Tim worked together for 4 years. We are good buddies. And I hated when they changed this because all those people down there are my friends. So I didn't, it's a job, okay? And I never want to make any of them mad at me at all. And of course, if I'd run against Kim, I'd have never heard the end of it. So that's probably the reason I picked you, Tim.
Yes, yes.
You?
She's not here.
She's not here.
So, okay. So
Maybe I had 3 opponents. I had 4.
shall we do the same question in Division 8?
Mr. Shovel here.
Yeah.
You think this out?
The reason I chose Division 8, again, going back when I started my research on running for election, who was I going to run against, I kept going back to the original question. there are issues in magistrate court. There are issues of teamwork. We've heard that already. You have, what, 3 magistrates sitting right here and a magistrate assistant. And they've already argued among themselves during this questionnaire. So the teamwork is not there. The work ethic.
You think it's particularly not there with Ms. Aaron?
I think in general. I think when you talk about teamwork.
Okay, but that doesn't explain why you wanted to run against Ms. Aaron.
Okay, why I wanted to run against Ms. Aaron, as I started to, I tried not to make this personal. Ms. Aaron, I do not know. If she comes over here and punches me in the nose, I would not know her. But as I talk to other people that has had dealings in the court, they say that she does not work all of her shifts. She stated that there's times that she leaves early. I was told also, again, from reliable sources that have gone in front of magistrate court. I do not want to give names because they want to be back in front of magistrate court. But that at times when she has night court or other assigned times, she does not come. She has someone else working those shifts for her. That's the work ethics I keep referring to.
Ms. Aaron, you want to respond to that?
I sure do. I find it suspicious that he has no real independent knowledge of my work schedule, my workload, and how I conduct myself in magistrate court. I will tell you that I also find it very suspicious that the filing period for magistrate or any office in the state of West Virginia was 3 weeks long. At 3 minutes of 5, he jumped out of the race with Magistrate Halloran and decided to run against me. Now he brings up all these issues, trying to make me look bad. Don't appreciate it.
Well, it's not to try to make her look bad.
Yes,
yes,
you've said enough. You've said enough.
I did.
You have no independent knowledge of
We'll
my.
let you respond again. We'll let you respond again.
All right.
Let's not interrupt. Go ahead.
Yes, I did originally register to run against Tim Halloran, mainly for the same reason that one of the other candidates said. He had been a magistrate for a while. He came in the race last. As I was watching the closing of the filing day, I realized that at that time there were 6 candidates for that one seat. So thinking 1 versus 5 or 1 versus 1, which is better, 1 versus 1. Tim Halloran was our first person that we thought we would want to run against. Kim Aaron was our second person that we thought we wanted to run against.
Who's we?
People that I would associate with. My committee,
Well, thank
my
you for being
friends.
honest that you inevitably wanted to run against me because you couldn't beat Tim because there were 6 in his race.
All right.
I don't understand that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Now let's see. We haven't heard from Ms. Nixon, so tell us more.
Well, Ms. Nixon, he's not here, but you're running against my assistant who was here yesterday. Why don't you pick him?
I chose him because I like the challenge. He actually came in first, if I remember correctly, in his last election. So I felt that I am pretty well known here in the Kanawha County, and I've been known to promote environmental and social justice issues. And when I've worked with people, I usually work with them when I was at the DP. I worked with them in crisis situations, and the individuals there, when they would call the DP, they were always in a crisis. And the same thing happens when you're working in magistrate court. You're around people coming in a crisis situation. I feel like I am a people person. I can actively listen. I am impartial, and I feel that I would be able to give a fair and just decision on whatever the case is.
But as far as just choosing that race in particular, any particular reason?
No, there wasn't any particular reason.
All right. Well, I've got some more things down the road, and I'm going to hear everybody else. Questions first.
Mr. Parker, former longtime police officer. There was an incident in Putnam County last year where a magistrate who was a former police officer had a man in front of him who wrote a letter to the court beforehand, and then as he was coming into court this morning, or that morning, he was in both of those. He was very insulting to police officers in general, and to certain police officers in particular, called names, all sorts of things. The magistrate handled it particularly well, and eventually resulted in his removal from the bench. If you're a magistrate, and you're in that situation, as an ex-police officer, someone comes in and is mouthing off about police and police this and police that, how do you handle that?
Well, first off, it surprised me that Scott Lawrence did that, because I've worked with him in state police. I know him, and Scott's pretty level-headed guy. I'd say Scott just lost his cool. You cannot, these people out here, like I say, most of the time, now, as a police officer, they don't hate you, they hate that uniform. You're arresting them, they're going to be, they ain't going to be your best friend, and you can't take it personal. And I never have taken it personal. I've had people treat me, do that, and like in the drug unit, I'd sit down and talk to them and convert them into being, cooperating with us. Before you know it, I'm sitting there working an investigation for years with this guy, or 6 months, and turned out to be, I like the guy, but he's working penitentiary. He likes me. He knows, he has respect for me because I do my job and I treat him as a human being. Okay? I don't treat him any other way. He treats me like a man, I treat him like a man. I don't take it personal, and I feel if I make it to the bench, if you want to be a magistrate, I can be impartial with people. I just like to see things fairly handled by people. Settle problems. I love to settle problems.
Mr. Parker, you're a current police officer.
Well, when I was a magistrate, I never had much problem with folks at all, police officers or other folks. Kind of handle them like you want to be treated. But I know how to say bailiff, remove Mr. So-and-so from my court, and I have done that because you can't let it get out of control. And there's no sense, cussing somebody or bad-mouthing somebody or putting folks down. That's not the place for it. And it's very easy to handle. There's no reason for that.
I'd just like to add that I'm on the education committee. We train the new magistrates, and you would be surprised to know that a majority of our new magistrates statewide are law enforcement officers. The last class that came in, like 85% of our new magistrates were law enforcement officers. And so we tell them at the beginning, okay, you put the badge away, hang the gun belt up. You're wearing a whole new hat now. But Magistrate Lawrence was one of them that we trained, when he first came in. But a majority of former law enforcement officers go into the magistrate field.
So vote for me.
What else?
How are people reacting to the nonpartisan nature of the race?
They're
Last year we
confused.
are. They're confused.
Yeah,
They're confused.
I spend more time explaining the divisions than I do getting my message out of who I am and my experience and what I have to offer.
Well, and it's huge because it's over May 10th. I mean, that to me is the greatest scare of all, because there's not a single circuit judge that has any opposition. Our prosecutor has no opposition. Our circuit clerk has no opposition. Our county clerk has no opposition. With the exception of a few county races, there's not much opposition in the county for this primary. And getting the word out to the voters of this county that May 10th decides our election is critical, because those of us particularly who've been on the bench for years, So normally people think, oh, this is a primary, and then we'll vote in the general. Well, there is no general. You know, this is it. For the magistrate race come May 10th. And so I think that's so important to try, not to mention the confusion with the divisions. You know, if you remember, several years back, we changed our districting for our House of Delegates and our state Senate races. Well, that was confusing enough. Now you break us up into divisions. Some folks think that because you may be from Cross Lanes, that only the people in Cross Lanes can vote for him.
Right, they do.
And because I'm from Dunbar, only folks from Dunbar can vote. You know, it's confusing. It's county-wide. Even though we're in divisions, you know, we run from the Fayette County line in Montgomery and to the Putnam County line in Nitro. Even if we're in divisions, it's the entire county. People are so confused about the divisions.
I believe if they take the divisions off, and really the divisions don't mean nothing. All it means is there are 10 magistrates.
I wish we would have called it maybe a seat.
Yeah.
Broken
There
it, you know, we gave us a
simple.
seat. And then, I don't know, divisions is confusing to folks. Very confusing.
Other than the fact that it's early in the day, the day election decides everything, how do you all feel about having nonpartisan nature?
Yeah, there's no problem with that.
Yeah.
Judicial races should be nonpartisan.
I agree with that.
Anybody disagree with that?
No.
It's just the short time, you know, that is so confusing.
We'll need a lot of help from the media to explain the process. And we have not been privy yet to see how the ballot's going to be laid out.
Yeah, we've not even seen
And
the ballot.
in the past, and I worked with a couple of legislators, you would have the statewide races, then they'd come down to the county races, and you'd go through clerks and commissioners and all this, and then down on the tail end, right above surveyor, were magistrate races. Now, what we're hoping for, that all judicial officers will be one section, so that, I mean, it's going to be confusing. How are you going to lay it out? One page is Division 1, go to Division 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm number 9. I may not get a vote. Who knows? If people get tired of turning pages, they'll go 3 pages and I don't see Tim's name. So we need a lot of help from the media to get the message out. We need the voters to come out in droves.
Jager, on the questionnaire that we sent out, you seem to be the only one that wasn't really crazy about the reintroduction of bail bonds within the county. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think that, you know, you got to remember the reason they did away with them to begin with, and that was that a lot of the property that was, you know, put up was being used over and over for different perpetrators. You know, in Kanawha County, we have, unlike most of the counties across the state, we usually do a surety or cash option. You know, my concern is that we'll get in the same position we were in before, and you have, you know, such few bail bondsmen using the same property over and over, which was our problem to begin with.
How do you make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, I'm not sure who's monitoring that. You know, obviously someone at the county clerk's office or whoever is taking care of the property taxes or the property issue. I mean, I know that the circuit judges there's only a few that have been certified to be bail bondsmen in our county, so I assume they're keeping an eye on it. But you know, Kanawha County is different than any other county in the state. We run so much money for bonds and for, you know, that it's different than any other county in the state. We're pretty big.
Anybody else?
I work in Montgomery, and you know, it's Kanawha County and Fayette County, and Fayette County still uses the bondsman, and it's, you know, even when I worked there many years ago, they had them, and it seems like it works fine. But you're talking about a smaller county than you are, like Julie said, Kanawha County, which is a lot of money. But there got to be a solution, because a lot of people think that you put people in jail on a high bond. Bond's not a punishment. You know, everybody has a right to bond except for murder, kidnapping, treason, whatever. But I think the bail bondsman thing is a good thing. You know, because everybody that comes into that magistrate court is not guilty. They're not guilty. So they should have a right, if they can't go a bond, that somebody can you know, you can pay $50 and not go to jail unless you're, you know, sentenced to that. But I think it's a good idea. I really do.
But I think they ought to be responsible for the person
Sure.
they're posting the bond for.
Sure.
And that's huge. Because,
Sure.
you know, if you post bond for somebody and they don't show up at their preliminary hearing, then I think you ought to be responsible for getting that person there.
And they are. They are. A bondsman,
Right, and
it's
that-
their responsibility.
We're getting a lot of people.
Actually, the bail bondsman companies that we actually have now, they're not actually just coming and putting their property up. They are insured by an insurance company, and they're bonded by them. And so what happens is they bring this certificate in that the insurance company, it's not a piece of property that we're calling over and asking, is this property good? That's not how it works now. It's an insurance company who is fronting that money for them. And then if they skip out, then this bail bondsman is the one who has to go track them and get the money. But they are being, it's not done exactly that way with the justification and surety for bail bondsman companies. Exactly.
And the circuit court's closely monitoring this whole event. They have yearly compliances where they bring them back in and make sure that you've got a physical plan, you pay your taxes, you abide by the court's rules.
Number one on bail bondsman is exactly what Ferris said. Bond is only for somebody to ensure they come back to court to answer their charges. It shouldn't be used as a punishment to put somebody out of South Central until they come in for their preliminary hearing, which happens all the time. If you arrest somebody, they can't come up. $500 is a lot of money for some people. They can't come up. It's just a $500 bond. Well, if you hit me, sometimes I'd be out there 10 days hoping to get my premium. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and like I say, if the crime is serious enough, I mean, no bond. If it's a capital offense, somebody's going to go out here and commit it again. You have good reason. In the federal system, they never.
No bond in capital offense.
Right. And in the federal system, that's the way we went. Because usually it was somebody that had 2 priors of drugs, guns involved, and there could be no bond. And they shouldn't be. But don't use bond as a punishment. And we had one guy that stayed in jail for a year on a simple bond that he could not make for simple possession of crack cocaine, which is a little stiff in my book.
I think the bail bonds, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think there's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons. Overall, I would be in favor of it. The negative side of the bonds, bail bondsman, is it being negative Nelly here. It does open up a little area that, okay, I'll set the bail a little high if you give something back to me. So I think it does open up a little corruption opportunity. Not saying that it has, because I am not in court like you all said. I'm just saying it gives the opportunity. But on the positive side of having bail bondsmen is I would really hate to see a person come in front of the courts who cannot pay the bail bonds and little grandmother comes and puts her house up and little grandson flees and little grandmother loses her house. That would be a tragedy right there, or a grandfather. So with the use of bail bondsmen, I think that would eliminate that opportunity. Also, by using bail bondsmen, if they are a flight risk, they should know more so than anyone else, the bail bondsman, because they're the ones fitting the bill. And if they feel like it's okay to do it and they pay for it and they do flee, now it's their responsibility to track them down, not our law enforcement agencies, not our Kanawha County deputy sheriffs, not our state police, not our city police. That leaves them out on the streets to help protect, investigate crimes, solve crimes, and help protect help protect our citizens and our streets and keep them safe.
I believe one great benefit the public's going to find from using these new bail bonding companies will be the reduced jail cost. We also take bondsmen out of the picture if we set cash-only bond. So we need the bail bondsmen and bail bondswomen. they're a great service, and I've had nothing but positive reaction the little bit they've been in Kanawha County with it. So I believe it's going to be a great benefit to the citizens of Kanawha County, lowering some of the cost.
It stopped in Kanawha County, I think, in the 90s for reasons that the bail bondsmen were putting up houses that had loans and there wasn't enough equity. So if those things are corrected and there's not competition between the bail bonds people, that they're getting favoritism by somebody always using the same bail bondsman, and it's not so competitive. It works in other states, it works in our state, it can work in Kanawha County. Also, many people have said that it frees up law enforcement to not have to go track people down, and I think that's a positive.
Well, but it's not like the bounty hunter on TV. I mean, you know, it's not like they're gonna go chase people down that don't show up. I mean, and that's my concern, is that, you know, you're posting your money up, which I think, unless it's changed, the last time I checked, you lose your money. Unlike now, when you post bond in Kanawha County, when your case is disposed of, you get your money back.
Sure.
I think that when a bail bondsman posts your money, you lose your money. I think they keep your money.
Well, you give them a fee, Julie.
Yeah, fee, but they
if
keep the majority of it, right?
Well, if it's like in Fayette County, if they do, it's $100 bond, they may charge it $50, as to say, and you don't get that $50
Well,
back.
and that's my concern, because, you know, we have so many folks that can't afford to pay their court costs or can't afford to pay restitution in cases of restitution. Now we're taking their money and paying it to a bonds person as opposed to court costs.
If you was going to sit in jail,
Yeah.
they'll pay that $50 so they don't have to sit in
I
jail.
mean, they have a choice. They can sit in jail or they can pay.
Yeah.
The old problem with the old problem with the bail bond was exactly what you said. They wasn't collecting for people who were going to bail. Okay, under the new system, they have the money and they will collect. That makes the world of difference in the bail bond.
And they will make sure they show up.
Absolutely.
Anyone
Like a
else?
double.
Okay, well, it occurred to me that I asked all Magistrate Halloran's opponents to talk to me, and then I didn't give him a chance to.
What was that?
I asked all your opponents to talk about why they chose to run against you, but then I didn't give you a chance to say anything afterward. I'm sorry.
Why did you want to run against us?
Yeah.
Oh. That's all.
As a young guy, I used to box. And when you get in the boxing ring, you learn a new skill and what all. And pretty soon you want to take on the best guy in your class. And I look at it, these guys want to run against the classiest and the best magistrate. And that way, if they win, they'll get a crown.
The best dressed anyway, right?
That best dressed.
See, if I'd have done that, I wouldn't have said what I did, and I would have used
I welcome, you know, this is America, thank goodness, and anybody can run for office at any time, as long as you're qualified to be there. And I have the name recognition and the 18 years experience, and I welcome all comers.
Do you all think there should be any more additional qualifications to become that?
It's the people's court, okay? Common folks. And I've always said it still needs to be the people's court. They tried that a few years ago. You remember when they, wanted people to have a criminal justice degree or whatever. But it's a people's court. We need to keep that open for the common folks. Not everybody has a college education, and but it's a people's court. We forget that sometimes.
I would echo his comments.
I'd say the one thing I would change in the master court is I'd make the age requirement a little higher than 18. I'd hate to have an 18-year-old judge.
It's 21.
21.
It's 21.
I'm getting the alcohol.
Sorry.
I'm getting the alcohol. But 21, I'd have the age. Life experience means a lot. I mean, when you've been out here in life, somebody 21 years, they haven't seen hardly nothing in life. They haven't experienced a whole lot in life. And the more you experience, the more passion you have, the more you know people, the more you deal with people. think that the older you are, they raised the qualifications up to 30 years old. You get a better feel.
Who's the youngest magistrate?
Magistrate
Hall.
Grandma.
I have nothing against Brent.
I think you guys have seen us for the last 2 days, and you'll probably agree, having met with us for years now, that the folks that are running, even the non-incumbents, really appear to be qualified and you know, just educated and eager to learn more about it. And in the past, you know, that was one of the reasons for this divisions, they said, was that it would cut down the number of folks that ran for the office. Because if you remember, several years back, we had 30 run one year in a primary, you know. And so I think that has happened in this race, you know, with it's lowered the number of folks that have run, and those that have, you know, seem to be really interested in the job and have some knowledge or experience, or education or law enforcement or something. You know, in the last 2 days, if you look at the candidates, it appears that it did work in that it cut down on the number of folks that just put their name in there.
Life experience comes into play in this job
Absolutely.
every single day.
Very much so.
And
He's right.
I believe the older you are, when you get to this position, the better you are, because you'll have people coming before you that maybe back when you were 18, 20, or 21, you had a little issue. You know where that person's coming from. Life experience, and then when you get to the court system, to gain the experience of doing this every day, dealing with the public every day, dealing with the media every day. It's a challenging job, but if you welcome a challenge, this is a job for you.
Well, definitely increased education. You've definitely got situations where you just have to use plain common sense. The court asks us to be reasonable, and we have to be reasonable with people.
I seem to be from this group of the outsiders, not being a police officer, not having a criminal justice degree, but I do have life experiences. I've been around different individuals all of my life. When you work with environmental justice issues, you're working with people with from low income, and then you also work with people who are in the upper economic areas also. And I was able to talk with both and be able to explain issues. I had to, as the environmental advocate, explain the laws, and we're talking about laws here. I had to explain the laws to people who may not have even had a high school education. I have a bachelor's, I'm educated, but as I said, not with a criminal justice degree. I have a bachelor's degree from West Virginia State University, and I also have a master's degree that I got from West Virginia Graduate College, which was merged into Marshall University Graduate School. So it isn't that I haven't dealt with individuals. As I said, I've always had to deal with individuals when they were in a crisis situation. I had to learn to listen to them. I had to learn to help them resolve their issues. And that's the same thing with magistrate court. And I believe that I would be a good magistrate. Going in looking at the qualifications, I meet the qualifications of running for magistrate here in Kanawha County. And I would be able to take a few more classes on in criminal justice. I'm sure that I would have the experience to be able to make the correct decisions when dealing with the public.